Hello, everybody. This is Kevin Furman. I'm just showing you a screen here about what we're doing, just in case you're wondering. So this is make it easier to find these videos in the future. I'm gonna start putting up these beginning pages. So I apologize for taking so long. For those of you that have been checking these out, it took me a while to kind of get to bit back to this. There was there were reasons for it. I'm not going to get into it. You don't care. It's not that important. But anyway, so there you go. You're in the right place if you're looking for the E3LC book of the month, and we're actually on this book, Secrets of Getting Things Done by Vincent Harris, and we're gonna do just four of the strategies this week. I was doing a whole bunch in previous weeks, but we don't need to this week. So we're going to do 17 through 20, and so this may be a little shorter or may not, depends on where my brain goes here. But I wanted to talk about each chapter, share a couple thoughts and or any relevant things like that from my life, if it's of any help to anybody out there. So as always, if you have questions or comments, please let me know in the comment section of the video, or you can reach me. My email, kfurman at e3lc.net. And so I'll uh, I'll be making sure that that's available, and so you can kind of click on that, check out the website if you want, or just send me an email. And the website is www.e3lc.net. So here we go. We're going to jump right into the book here. So we're at strategy number 17, and that's your mind will process faster than you think. So it, it, reading the title, I thought, okay, he's going to talk about, you know, pressing yourself to think faster and things like that. He actually wasn't. He didn't go there at all. So, um, I okay, great. But I did figure out his connection here. At first, I was struggling with like, how do you explain this? Because he doesn't really talk about thinking faster, but he's talking about finding solutions and a process, and that's where he's going. So he brings up the idea of Einstein's thought of you can't fix your current problem with the same level of thinking that got you the problem, right? You've got to come up with a higher level of thinking to come up with solutions. So this idea of higher level thinking is very intriguing, has been my whole life, my whole adult life for sure. um, which has been a little while now. And so I'm always interested in higher level thinking, and there's lots of concepts about that in the coaching world. Where I'm trained is we talk about consciousness and energy levels and higher levels of energy, lower levels of energy, and higher consciousness and awareness. I'm not going to get into that, but it certainly has added another depth to my understanding of how people think and what drives them, what makes them tick, so to speak. And it's really been insightful for myself. So I would highly recommend the idea of coaching. Obviously, I mean, that's what I do now. I'm delving into this whole thing. And so it's not it's a self promotion, but I'm just saying in general, right? It doesn't have to be with me. I think there's just a lot of value in having somebody look at things that you're wrestling with, even as a soundboard, but even more so, like how to dig in without it being intrusive, right? How to challenge without it being rude, how to champion without it being trite, right? That's what coaching should be. And I think that's what it strives for, in its highest form. It really is striving to do those things, to be a partner with people, find out what's stuck, making them stuck, and get them unstuck. And that's really what it's all about. So, okay, sorry, that was a big tangent, but it seems relevant to what we're talking about here, in the sense of when you're trying to figure out a problem, you need higher level thinking, and sometimes that requires talking to other people. That is not something Vince has said in his book, and so I'm going to get back to the book now. But just I want to throw that in. Okay, so what he's talking about is, let's say you're trying to figure out a solution to a quote problem. All right, you've got a situation where you need a solution and you just can't see the answer. It's not coming. It looks bleak. It looks like a blank wall you cannot get around. There's no door, there's no windows, there's nothing, right? So he says, okay, well, here's an idea. And so what you do is, first of all, the concept he brings up actually brings up a Robert Kiyosaki idea from Rich Dad Poor Dad. Another book, great book. It'll be on the list at someday. It won't be here this month, but he takes a snippet out of that book, which is great, and it's really really powerful. and it's talking about mindset, really. So that's the first thing about getting your mind to process faster is to remember that if your mindset is in a place that's going to keep you stuck, you're going to stay stuck. And it sounds redundant and silly, but you got to remember that, right? So he goes, well, how do you do that? Interesting that I asked that question because it actually is in that question. There is one word. It's a three-letter word that can change your whole perspective on things. His example is something like, I'm not going to quote it exactly, but um, I my car breaks down. I need to buy a new car. Oh man, how am I going to buy like a car? I can't buy a car. I don't have the money, right? So what am I going to do, right? So all those questions, all those thoughts of like I can't this and that. He goes, okay. Instead of saying I can't buy the car, you change that and you add this three-letter word, and that is how. How can I buy that car? Or even just take it, and I sort of changed it from can't to can, but just I can buy that car as a statement of faith doesn't give you the answers, right? It may be a mindset of I'm gonna find a way, but it doesn't like, okay, well, great, that's good, that's a great start, but that how actually gets your brain to start coming up with those solutions. And that's his point in the main point in the chapter is that one little word how completely shifts everything into a processing way of finding solutions as opposed to just a attitude, right? Which is you got to have that, but you also need the actual actions. You need to figure out what you're going to actually do to accomplish with that great attitude. So here's what he says is great. Okay, you got this thing you're trying to do. Sit down, clear out all the clutter, get away from all the distractions, right? Get your brain really focused. Get out a piece of paper, write the question. How can I fill in whatever, right? Fill in whatever it is that you got to do, right? How can I buy the car by the end of the month? Or how can I buy this new car? Whatever, right? So what I'm just using that, just I don't know. I don't need a new car. It's just an example. So so the how, right? And then what you do is you set a timer for whatever time limit, right? And I think I'm forgetting now what he says. The idea is what you want to do is set up a system of getting your brain to just brainstorm on its own and come up with whatever ideas, right? No judgment, no filtering, no statements of, well, that'll never work. None of that, right? You want to get rid of that. So, what you do to get rid of that kind of thinking is you just sit down with a piece of paper and then for a brief period of time, you just go. And I'm looking for that time and I don't remember what he said. So basically, it's you set a period of time, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. I don't think it needs to be longer. Like 10 minutes would be a really long time to do this. But you set yourself like a 5 minute, 5 minute time period. That's a guess right now of just, it's purely anything that comes to mind to get the solution on the paper, right? Any kind of solution that might work remotely, anything, just it doesn't matter, just write it down. And there is no right wrong, there is no will it work or don't work, none of that. You have to let that all go and just write. Okay. And then he says I put it away for 24 hours. I don't think about it, I don't mull it over anymore, I just put it away. And then after 24 hours go back to it. And then um well, actually, okay, sorry. Well, I totally blew it. You write down the question, you think about it, you talk about it, you say it out loud. You're like, here's my situation. Then you wait 24 hours and then you sit down. This is okay. This is why I couldn't remember the time. He doesn't do a time of this because that's what I have done in the past is set a time. And I got it conflated. Sorry. What he does is say, all right, now you've thought about it for 24 hours. You sit down with a piece of paper and you write 50 ways to solve that situation, right? Come up with a solution for the situation. 50 ways, go, right? And you just write as fast as you possibly can, getting 50 answers. And it doesn't matter. Again, you get rid of the will it work, not work, whatever. So that's his version is you write a number of them. I usually do time because I just want to go, right? Just, okay, write them down and go. And that, again, I'm kind of going with the title of the chapter, which is process faster, right? So time for me and for many, when you set a time limit, that makes you're under the gun, like you gotta go, right? It's a little more quite quote stressful, but it's not really stressful. It's just it's really a game. When you finally get to the point where you're like, nah, I'm just gonna find solutions, you just go as fast as you can. And the time limit helps your brain just think, okay, I've got a deadline. I can't just keep doing this forever. So, it might be for a time limit trying to get to 50, right? You just like write as many as you can, but at 50 is the ideal goal in in 5 minutes, go, right? Just write. Now, it may not, many times you may not get to 50 or whatever, but that's not really the point. The point is to get your brain to think faster and think about solutions and stop worrying about filtering everything through this prism of that won't work and I don't know how and blah, 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 blah. That stuff, right? That gets in our way, that voice that tells us that stuff. Which is a whole nother topic for another day. So that's his version, and there's tons of validity to it. But again, just recap real quick because that was really long. Use the word, change your sentence, not can I or I can't. Change that whole thing to just how can I afford X? How can I find blah blah blah, whatever. And then sit down, write the question, say it out loud. Just give your brain some time to think about it, say 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, and then put it away for a day, 24 hours, come back to it, and then sit and write for either amount of time or 50 answers, the way Vincent says it, right? So either way, pick one. I think they both are valid. And then you go from there, right? Then you go back and you start to, go through it. And that's not the point of the chapter. The point of the chapter is get your brain to think. And that's a really good way. So I think that's very good. All right, now we're going to move on to strategy number 18, which is titled Get Rid of All But 3 of Your Email Folders. Okay, so, I'm going to have to say I don't do this. All right, that's where I was going. Like, am I going to admit that I actually don't follow his advice? I don't. Okay, so I'll just tell you what he says. I'm not saying that everyone should do this. It's an idea, and it has a lot of value in it. I agree with his sentiment and the thoughts behind it. I happen to not do it that way because of the way I structure my business and the things that I do. Um, I tend to put them in each business category. Like, so what I do, right, in my coaching world, or the leadership training, or music, which I'm a trained musician, so I've been a professional musician in my life for most of it. So there's things in that realm. There's actually a couple in there. There's also just a random one, right, that I use for things that aren't business at all and never will be, right? So I use it for that, just for more junk kind of stuff. If I know I'm going to get a lot of junk email, I'll send them that email, and if they start sending me stuff, I can just ignore it. It doesn't clutter up my other ones. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's sort of my system. You don't care that much, and a lot of people have their own system. But okay, so I just want to go over his, because there are people out there that have a ton of emails. They're just like 1,000 emails sitting in their inbox, and it's overwhelming, and they just get drained by the thought of like, I will never get through these. And so he addresses that. So he says, okay, here's the deal. So instead of having all that clutter and everything just bothering you and just, eating away at your soul every time you open your email, he goes, all right, okay, here you go. Here's what you want to do. A lot of people, he gets into, like, when he does seminars and workshops, people are like, no, you can't do that. That's impossible. It's like, no, check it out. So here's what he does. He has 3 folders, and they're named treasure chest, action required, and not sure yet. Okay, and he's very quick to explain these are not equal, right? So the treasure chest folder are emails that he wants to save forever, right? He wants to reference them at times. He wants to keep it handy forever because it's got information in it that's just, I need it at a click's notice, so it goes there, right? And that's where I put that kind of stuff. Okay, that's fair. And then the next one is action required. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So I need to handle this. This is important now. I've got to take care of this today or tomorrow or very, very soon, right? I need to take care of this. I need to respond. I need to research. I need to read and get back to people, etc. Right? Action required. Pretty straight ahead. The last one is not sure yet, right? That's where most of them are going to fall if you're not just handling them. So if you have 1,000, probably going to be a bunch in there. Now, what he says is, okay, if you do have that many just sitting around, if you have thousands or 1,000 or, you know, big number that's unmanageable, he says, all right, okay, there's actually a fourth one that he uses as a beginning step. And he calls that one instant relief, right? And what he's trying, so you put everything that you're like, I can't handle it, right? You just put it in instant relief, put it in the folder, and then your inbox is at 0. And so as things come in, you handle the inbox, put them in the other 3. You don't throw them in the instant relief. Like, you just set that aside for a moment, right? And then you open an email and it either goes in a treasure chest, action required, not sure yet. You just, it goes in one of those 3. Okay, great. Now the next one. Where does that one go? Great. Next one. Where does that one go? Either that or just handle it, right? So you either have to handle it like it's a fire you got to put out, or if it's something you got to respond to later, you put it in those 3 categories and that's it. And then, obviously the question is, well, what about those emails you put in the instant relief thing, right? And he goes, okay, here's what you do. You spend dedicated time every day, every week, whatever your brain can, handle, so to speak, on a regular basis, whatever that means for you. You say, all right, I'm going to my instant relief and I'm going to move 10 of these, right? To the other 3, or handle it, right? So either handle it right then or move it to the others. And then again, it's easy and when you have a ton of them, a ton, right? It's easy to think, well, that's going to take forever. I've had that thought. I'm like, man, this is going to take forever. I don't want to do this. But if you just look, 10 every time you do it, you got 1,000. All right, that's 100 times. If you did it every day, 5 days a week, right? Okay, that's okay. So you do 10. That's 50 a week. Okay, 4 weeks. Okay, it's not so bad, right? So, so that's kind of, that's where it comes down to, is like, if you're persistent with it, you start to move those out, and then you don't need the instant relief anymore. That's gone. Now, again, that's every day you take care of the ones that come in daily, put them in the 3. Don't just throw it all in instant relief and just start piling up every day, and then, like, that's going to be defeating, right? So don't do that. So that's his deal with, having 3 folders, and that's it. Again, I don't do this. I've thought about it, and the way I structure my business, I look at it from this is pertinent to each business, and I when I am not going to handle something, right, it will go to another category, an archive or something. But if it's there, I need to handle it. Okay, I can deal with that, right? And then my junk filter is pretty high, so I'll filter through the junk, see if there's anything I missed, that got filtered by accident, and then make sure it doesn't happen again. Do all the things with rules and whatever to just, if an email comes in that I want to keep and I don't want it to go to junk, I make sure that the computer knows, okay, don't make this junk. All right, so I try to do that as best I can. And in the last few months, actually, I've been a lot better about making sure that that's true. It's up to date, and so I'm things are in the right places more often now, so it's less of a hassle. And it took a couple of months, actually, because I wasn't sitting down for 4 hours and sorting that all out. It was just as I went through things, like, oh, I got to make sure I do that. Okay, great. Oh, that one needs something, and I'll just, as I went along, I added a rule, or I added a way for the computer to know, whatever, right? So then over a couple months, it's gotten a lot better, right? Things are where they're supposed to be. My email's working, and I have a system. So it's similar to his in that I have one for each business. So I don't have multiple ones for each business. It's just one thing for that business idea, right? So that's sort of my version. Okay, great. So there's that. All right, let's move on. Strategy number 19, learn to say no. Okay, now, this is, I think it's come up already in another discussion, but learning to say no is apparently very difficult for a lot of people. Now, I know there have been times in my life where it's been difficult to say no, but this is not something I personally have wrestled with greatly. So I'm not going to be the best teacher about it, because if I know I'm not going to do something, I will tell them no. It's just a no. I'm not going to lie to people. I see it as a lying thing. Like, if I say yes to something I know I can't handle, that's a lie, right? And I'm not interested in that. So, so this hasn't been a big thing, but I can totally get where he's coming from, and that people They don't want to tell people no. It's disappointing. You don't want to let people down, and oh, it's not that big a deal. I can fit it in, and et cetera, et cetera. I get that. The problem he talks about, and he talks about it in a really, I think, a very cool way. And there's two things he kind of brings up, and the one's more the obvious that I've heard multiple times, and one's another cool little take. So the first one is that if you say yet a no to something, or you say yes to something. Sorry. So somebody asks you, you probably should have said no, but you said yes. So you said yes to this request. What you have to remember is because you said yes to that, you've now said no to everything else you possibly could have been doing at that time. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to realize that a yes includes the no. You are saying yes to this, you're saying no to these things. When you say no to that one thing, you're saying maybe to all these others, right? So, in a way, saying yes to one thing limits your options, if that makes sense, right? If you say no to that thing, you've got more options available. So in a way, saying no gives you more options. It's a kind of a little bit twisted way to think, because usually we think of no as cutting off things. It's cutting off that one to allow for many others. And if you can keep that straight, it's really helpful, really helpful. And I think that's partially why I that mindset has like sunk in pretty quick for me. And so that's why I think behind the scenes, that's why no is not as difficult, I think, for me as some. And I'm only saying that because I wish I had wrestled with this more so I could understand it, empathize more. So I apologize, but I get it. I understand that there's a lot of people that really struggle with this, and and I understand it. I can't experience. I haven't experienced it to that level, so can't empathize as much as I'd like. But I get it. Okay. Um, that be it that as it may. Let's go to his second point. I think is really cool. Also, he says, okay, if you think about it, when you answer somebody's request, they ask you to do something, join a committee, write a paper, do this thing at work, play a game with your kid asks you to play a game with them, whatever it is, your answers fall into, and it's overly simplistic, but yes, no, or maybe, right? So he goes, that's pretty much it, right? Those are your options as far as answers go. And so there's a couple things he talks about, and I think they're really cool inside of this idea. And so the first one is, this is the main thing I think is neat. He says, all right, look, if you look at the maybe, right? Maybe takes up a lot of headspace. Well, if you have to kind of like mull it over, and I got to spend time thinking about, well, should I or shouldn't I? And you got to go through the decision process. So it's taking up a lot of brain energy, right? Maybe takes up space in your brain. Sort of what he's talking about. A yes also actually takes up space in your brain because, well, now you got to figure out, well, how am I going to fit it in? Or was it the right decision? Or, okay, well, that was the right decision. Now what does that mean? What do I have to do now? Right? You have to start making plans for how you're going to fit it with other things you're doing, or what actions are needed, all that. So again, it takes up space, takes up a lot of thinking space when you say yes to something. The no is actually interesting because when you say no to it, it takes up no space. It's done. It's over. Takes up no space in your brain. So his point being is, no is actually more efficient. No is better for brain space because it takes none up. The other two take up brain space. Interesting take. I really like that. It's just in the sense of thinking of it more in those terms. Now he says when you're faced with a decision, and I'm going to go. It's a third point, but it's related to that. But he says, good. It's really simple. Take out a piece of paper, 3 equal columns. You put, um, say, yes on the left column, maybe in the middle, and no in the right column, right? So you make the 3 columns, you do your thing, and then what you do is write down the decisions you're trying to make, things that you've said yes and no to. Just list them all out. What's going on right now, right? So what are the things you're either saying maybe to, or have said yes, have said no, but you're maybe reconsidering, or whatever, right? So you write those things out, and the game is to just move maybes to yes or no. So that's it, right? So you just take the maybe, you just take the first one, or you would prioritize them. You say, this is the most urgent, most important, however you want it. That's your call. But you take the first one that is on the list of either reprioritized or just on the list, and you take that one on. You don't take all of them on. You just take that one. Yes or no. Yes or no. Yes or no. Yes or no. Right? And you okay, do it. So the game is to move them all away from maybe. So you have no maybes in your life, because maybe takes up the most space in your brain. That's how they're related. But it also creates this clarity, right? There is no murkiness. It's I'm doing it or I'm not doing it, and that's it. And I've experienced that. I've sat down and did this when I first read the book, and again recently when I reread it, with certain things that were on my mind, and it really did. It cleared up my brain. I was like, I'm not doing that. I was thinking maybe, I'm not now. Things have changed. My priorities have changed. I'm gonna revisit it. Maybe maybe revisit it, but I'm not going to think about it. It's a no right now, right? And I'll put it on a list for checking at the end of the year or for next year or 5 years from now. I don't know, but right now it's a no, and I'm not going to think about it anymore. So that's really it. And if it's a yes, then you can take action and move forward and make things happen. So it makes you more productive to have yeses and nos instead of maybes. So that's his big point there. All right, last chapter I'm going to talk about today is number 20, strategy number 20, which is eat a light lunch. Okay, two things that's well known for many people with their cycle of their body, their energy level from eating, sleeping, etc. That eating a light lunch will help you be productive more in the afternoon. Eating a heavy lunch, there's a lot of digesting that goes on. You get sleepy, you have that mid-afternoon slump, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's a common thing just because of, in my culture where I live, that's a common way to have lunch, is a big lunch and whatever, or a non-healthy lunch, or those kinds of things. And that, because of the type of food you're eating or how much you're eating, that causes this slump in the afternoon. So he says, eat a light lunch, right? Find things that are going to energize you, not weigh you down, or actually fulfill your nutrient needs, as opposed to just food, or like fast food, if you will. Right now, I would throw this in. I do health coaching and consulting. Actually, it's more consulting, but I can do coaching too, obviously, with it. So being healthy is easier in a program, if you will, or if you have a system. So eating a healthy lunch is easier when you're on a track and you've got a system and you've got people that are mentoring you and helping you and guiding you, and and being there for you when you either way need it because you're faltering, or need it because you just need a champion, right? So whatever. So they're there for you. Anyway, that's not his point, but for me, I'm throwing that out there. Like, healthy is important. It's very important. Your health is one of the most important things you're going to need. So to have better productivity, eat a lighter lunch, right? Eat a more healthy lunch. And whatever healthy is, more healthy, that's totally relative, I know. And healthy means different things for different people. Everybody's body is a tiny bit different, or a lot different, depending. And so what is healthy for one person is probably healthy for humans, but that you may need something a bit different. Your tastes are different, whatever. But healthy, right? Eating healthy and or living a healthy style is very important. So that's a side note. I'm going to do another just plug here. If that is an area someone struggles with or wants to really work at their health, I would be more than happy to sit down and talk about a system that I work with, that I consult with, or even just coaching. Forget the system, right? If you just want some coaching to get some clarity about what's going on that's keeping you stuck or not moving on it, I'd be happy to help. So anyway, so there's that. There you go. So those are the chapters for today. Great tips, good stuff. I hope some of it's been helpful, and send some people check this out, and send some people and check out. We're going to finish up this book next week, again on Monday. This is 2020 when I'm doing this, so if this stays up for years to come, it won't be a Monday when you see it, but it'll be a Monday when I record it. So read the other chapters, and feel free to join me, and we can discuss back and forth, as opposed to me just doing this diatribe. But I don't mind. I think it's kind of cool to walk through these. It's actually helping me keep them fresh and keep the ideas in my brain much more than when I used to do this. So, not used to, like just reading it, right? As opposed to just, taking the time to prepare and talk about it. It really helps solidify things. It's nice. It's good. So, it's good to talk about the ideas. They become more alive, they become more real when you discuss them as opposed to just read them. So, anyway, thanks again for checking it out. Again, e3lc.net is the website. Contact me, kfurman at e3lc.net, and or leave me a comment and let me know if you got ideas for books for the future. And we are going to, again, wrap this one up. And then after that, we're actually going to be moving to the third category of the 3 E's. Stay tuned for that. Hope you're great. We'll see you next time. Thanks for checking it out. Bye.